Hey, long time no see, Riley.
Hey, it's been a while.
Yeah,
I love that Co-Stars game.
I fucking hate that game.
Right up my alley. I love that.
Like
one.
I'm on that one. Like I don't fucking care about guys that are that goddamn low on depth charts. I just
See, that's what I love. I look at depth
yeah, I
charts
know
all the
you
time.
do. I don't even pay attention to them.
So
Like if they're gonna be relevant, I just don't care.
I got so lucky with the cliffhanger game because I don't have a DLF subscription, so I don't see.
Be
Yeah, I don't see their
serious?
ADP. Hell no, I just guessed
You realize you can get a subscription to that for free, right?
for free.
Yeah, all you have to do is open a FanDuel account, deposit money, and then withdraw the money.
Oh,
But you get a 1 year subscription for free then.
I did not know that.
Yeah. That's what I've been doing every year for the past 3 years. I just open a new FanDuel account every year. So
you just got to make a new email once a
yeah,
year and you're fine.
yeah, why not? I should get it for free from here on now that we're part of the DLF podcast family, but
Yeah, you should.
I would I will, but I haven't run out yet.
Okay,
So.
yeah, but like I don't ever look at their ADP. That's why I was really shocked. Like my eyes were bugged the whole time. I was like, what the hell?
You nailed them.
I'm hooked on auctions.
Yeah, hold on just a second.
Your
I gotta
fault.
check something.
Yeah, you're good.
It's freaking roasting in my basement. I had to get up and turn a fan on.
Well, that's why it's hot in here. My fan's off. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, like I had no airflow, and I'm like sitting there during game night, texting my wife, like, "Did you turn the air conditioner off? I'm dying down here." I mean, usually our basement's pretty cool, even when it's hot outside and stuff, but whew, not so today. Now he was recording trade calculator tonight, so I don't know. I don't know how long they typically record for.
They go over a lot, I'd say.
Yeah, I figured. What's the polite way for me to tell them that if somebody else wants to do whatever series I was writing, they are welcome to give that to somebody else because I don't feel like writing it anymore.
Just tell them, hey, if anybody else is interested in taking this over.
I mean, it was a popular series. So. Hey, what's up, Izzy?
What's up? We're live? What is this? What is the live thing? I don't get it.
Oh, you can still say whatever you want. You can talk bad about Kevin and Riley.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm just grabbing a waffle as my dinner because I haven't eaten because I've been podcasting all night.
Are you
the things
still
I do for
home
you guys.
alone?
Yeah, until Wednesday.
God, waffle for dinner. Good Lord.
Yeah, it's a power waffle though. It's a protein waffle is what they call it. Dark chocolate protein waffle, whatever.
That sounds delicious.
I had yogurt a little bit ago. Waffle, just.
I really
Just
like.
making
I've
it by.
had a few days where like my wife has taken the kids to her mom's on a vacation for like 3 or 4 days. I don't know, like a month. I don't know what I would do with myself for that much time in the day. Like,
Yeah, I've been going to the casino a lot. I was at the casino today. I ran home from the casino off my heater to go on the podcast on the DTC one. So
you have a casino within running distance?
yeah, that's it would take me probably if I ran it, it would take me probably 3 hours to get there. It's about
okay.
It's a 30-minute drive, but I'm going to say that's going to take me 3 hours because I'm probably going to spend a lot of time walking
Okay. When you
during
said
that
ran
run.
home, I thought you literally meant you ran home, and I was like, oh my god.
That'd be pretty cool. No, that'd be a problem.
If I had a casino that close, I mean, we have one that's like 10-minute drive, but
Yeah, that would be a problem.
I would have to run through downtown Cincinnati, which I don't really feel like doing ever. So
So what's this Google Hangouts live thing? I've never done
Trying
it.
to, trying to catch us saying something.
It's just no
Oh.
Google Hangouts. That's the backup that we use,
Gotcha.
just in case something gets messed up with the Audacity files.
Gotcha. Just to let you know, I'm recording. I record from my phone.
Okay.
So the backup is going to be phone, like the iPhone headphone. So that's going to be no good. So I'm going to want to make sure that I record this properly.
How do you typically record for DTC? The same way?
I record through my computer. So I have my my microphone plugged into my computer, and I record that way. But I'm chatting, like you guys can hear me via my cell phone, if that makes sense.
I mean, it sounds okay.
Oh, I got you. It records on the computer, but it comes through on your phone for us.
Correct. Exactly.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sounds a lot better than Peter.
Peter?
Yeah,
Peter's mics are always
Peter Howdy. Yeah, he's got to get a better mic or whatever he's
Peter
got.
who?
Peter
Howard.
Howdy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Pa Howdy on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Izzy, what position? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we just did game night.
Oh, cool. What position? What was I tasked with? Receiver, right?
Yeah. Did you prep anybody?
No, but I can do it quick.
Okay, that's what we figured.
Receivers.
Riley hasn't done his yet either, so.
Okay, we can do that quick. So all you want is a receiver.
Yeah, you need to get a receiver, and then what you need to present is his current DTC value.
Yep.
Typically, we will do a pick. You know, if there's a pick, so we do player versus the pick, and then after that we do. Usually, there's one other player that we kind of do a few minutes of that's kind of really close and might be like a 50-50 split. And then after that, we choose like 4 or 5 players that are kind of within a close range, and then do a ranking of those 5 players, and then, discuss why we think they would fall, where they fall in that ranking. Does that make sense?
Yep. Is there a receiver that, we don't want to do the same receivers we've done in the past. So who should I avoid bringing up?
Yeah.
Because I haven't listened to all your guys' episodes.
No, that's all right. I can pull up the list and tell you who has been taken.
Okay.
Because Kevin keeps a list, thankfully. Thank God for Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm going to be floating in the dark here without him tonight.
Is he still like hospitalized or whatever?
Yeah, he's not hospitalized, but he said he's still struggling. Like, I don't think he's gone back to work or anything. He's struggling with vertigo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you get that?
I don't. Usually, it's some sort of an inner ear issue that causes it most commonly. I don't know what his situation is, but
I'll tell you, food poisoning.
Yeah, that's what he thought it was, but it wasn't. It did kind of present that way because he was nauseous, vomiting, and really struggling. But apparently, it got worse, and then he couldn't stand up and stuff. So.
Oh shit.
Yeah. All right, so here's who we've done before, and some of these, honestly, back from a long time ago, probably could be repeated and have interesting discussions. But wide receivers we've done so far: Dez Bryant, Dante Moncrief, Adam Thielen, Crabtree, Sammy, Treadwell, James Washington, Amari Cooper, Nelson Aguilar, Devontae Parker, Corey Davis, Kenny Stills, and Mike Evans.
Okay, so who's left?
Wow, we've done 13 of these so far. More than I would have thought.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's good to know. At least I know to bring us into episode 14. That's important. So I'll give you guys a few minutes here to prep your stuff. Riley, we didn't ask Kevin if he still wanted to edit.
Let's assume yes.
Let's assume yes until we're told
Yeah,
otherwise.
let's assume
right?
yes.
Okay, good. Do you have that Dropbox that he always puts it in?
No.
How do I get?
I have no
We're
idea.
so bad. He just sends us the link. How do I get the Dropbox?
I do nothing for this. I show up and I talk.
It's a Google
and then I
Drive,
leave.
isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, I can get to the drive, so that'll work. There's episode 13. Yeah, we can always just put it in a different one.
Is the first DTC owner on the pod? On the
No, Nick had the guest a couple weeks ago when I was gone.
No, but the owners, the guys that run Calc, right?
Oh,
So really
yeah, I'm
hasn't been
sorry. I didn't hear you say owner. I just heard you say DTC guy.
on. DTC,
Yeah,
owner.
first time we've really got the big wigs on now, huh?
Oh yeah, you betcha.
Let's see.
All right.
Huh.
All I can find is the individual. Maybe it's under my drive.
What are you looking for?
I'm just trying to find the Dropbox of where we send the file later, but I got it. I think we'll just put it into a different Dynasty Wall Street episode, and Kevin can pull it out of there because I don't want to put it in the wrong place. But I know if it goes here, he'll be able to get it, so that's good. All right. You guys let me know when you are ready, whenever. No hurry, but
I'm good whenever.
Within how many points do you want the receivers to be?
it doesn't really matter. I mean, usually we try to stick within, a rate. For receiver, we probably are usually within 3 to 4 to 5 either way. If there's a guy that you kind of disagree with his value and you think it should be closer, we've thrown those in as well.
Because I'm thinking about doing.
We don't know what's that.
I'm thinking about doing a certain player.
Yeah.
I don't really have a personal. Do you want me to like the player or dislike the player?
No, it doesn't matter if you like him or not. It's more just to discuss his current value and then be able to compare him. I mean, so you don't really have to have a strong opinion either way.
Okay.
Typically, one of us will end up having an opinion on the guy. One of the three of us. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes we are all just right down the middle, which is fine.
Yeah, like the guy I'm bringing tonight, I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I'm just curious about his value.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm ready. I'll figure this out. I'm good.
Alrighty, Riley, you don't want to play host tonight, do you?
Hell no. I don't like hosting. I'm terrible at
right.
hosting.
I'll do it tonight. I don't mind. So I got to bring us in. I don't have to mention anything except for that Kevin is out and Izzy is in. So I'm doing running back. What positions are you guys doing?
I guess I'm doing receiver.
Izzy's doing receiver. What were you doing, Riley?
I'm doing tight end.
Okay. Riley, tight end. All right. So in that case, I'll lead it off because we usually go quarterback if that's first, then running back, wide receiver, tight end. So we'll end with Riley. We can just kind of probably skip the strategy point unless. Oh well, you know what? Actually, I do have we could do a strategy point around the auction that we're kind of doing. If you have anything you want to say about that, Riley, you got anything you'd want to?
I mean, I don't have any strategy points.
Auction,
but they're fun as fuck.
All right, we'll touch on like the transition from draft to auction.
Yeah,
just
be
for
patient.
like a quick
be patient.
couple of minutes at the end. So
I should have been more patient with the auction.
I wasn't patient, and I don't hate my team.
I can give you guys some auction. What I like doing in auction.
Doesn't spend money at all in the auctions until the end. At least not in the ones that I've been in with him. It's extremely frustrating.
That's pigs. It's a little different.
Pigs is very different. Pigs is different than anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right, I'll count you in and record as well here. There'll be a delay then after I say record so that we have a nice big gap of empty space for Kevin. So,
yeah, for Kevin.
All right. Ready, Riley there?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, record.
I've been recording for a minute. Does it matter?
No, because Kevin will just have to cut it off.
Okay.
All right, welcome into. Oh, no, we've got a timeout sign.
Sorry. So it's showing I have two things. I have two tracks.
Did you not close out your last Audacity file from 15 minutes ago?
I don't think so.
Did you export it as an MP3 just to save it in case?
Yes, I did that. Yeah, I saved it. Okay,
and you can just close it then if you've done that.
Okay, I closed both. Can I start again?
Did you start recording this one or did it not work?
I have no idea.
All right, we'll just stop and start over, Riley.
Okay.
That's okay.
All right, and I'm going now.
Here. Are you ready? I'll count you in. All right. 3, 2, 1, record. Welcome to Dynasty Wall Street. This is episode 14, and I am not your host, Kevin Cotillo. Kevin Cotillo is out tonight, so I, John Bosch, am hosting tonight. We've called in the bigwigs to replace Kevin. You gotta get somebody big when you're replacing a personality like Kevin Cotillo, right? So we've got Izzy Alcafest joining us from the flagship podcast. Welcome, Izzy. How does it feel to come slumming with us?
No, you guys are better than our show, so I feel like this is an upgrade. No.
Sure, I'll take that.
Okay, let's run with it.
But that's because we have Riley. That's what makes it the upgrade, right? So welcome, Riley. Right. How are you doing?
No. Bosch, this is JV. Izzy's he's the 8th grader coming down to play with the 6th graders right now.
That's right. That's what he called. That's what it was. When I got called up, I was the 6th grader getting called up, wasn't it? That's right. Something like that. All right. So tonight I'm going to have a running back. Izzy's going to have a wide receiver, and Riley is going to end us with tight end. Let's get right into it, fella. I am going to bring a running back who, I mean, quite frankly, had a value of 0 a couple of years ago. Probably will have a value of 0 soon, but for right now, still has some value. I'm bringing Marshawn Lynch to the table tonight. He's got a DTC value of 3.5. He is the ultimate, okay, if I can get one more year out of him and I'm competing guy. He comes in on the calculator, like I said, at 3.5, which is just about equivalent to 2.08 this year, which is a 3.0 value. So first question is, Marshawn Lynch or the 2.08? And we're going to try and avoid the cop-out of, well, if I'm competing, of course, I'll take Marshawn Lynch. Let's start with you, Riley. What are you going to do with Marshawn Lynch here?
I'm selling him for that price. No matter the scoring system or league settings, I'm taking the 2nd rounder, especially now because you've got Doug Martin in that backfield. You still got DeAndre Washington, Jalen Richard. It's just a lot of heads, and I don't know who's really going to step up and take it. So, yeah, I'll take the mid-second and be very, very pleased.
What about you, Izzy? Do you want to add any Marshawn Lynch, hoping that he can get better than a 2.08 for you in season?
Well, I think it's kind of lame that you don't allow us to do the competing and non-competing with a guy that's 32 years old. If that's what Marshawn is,
because that's the obvious, easy answer there.
So it's kind of unfair. But I would say I would agree with Riley. I mean, if you don't give me the option of saying competing, non-competing, I'll go with the 208 just because it's more future value.
Yeah, I actually think I might take, even if I'm not competing, I think I might take him in the hopes that the run back is a little bit more desperate into the season when somebody else gets hurt, or that Darius Geis owner just suffered that tragic injury, and maybe they're willing to give up a 2nd-round pick for him that might be a little bit better than this year's 208. Something like that. That might be the only reason I would consider taking him even on a non-competing team. I don't know that you're going to get better than the 2.08, but I think I might take a random second from next year and just hope that that 50-50 chance hits that it's better. I mean, you can usually judge teams a little bit, but if somebody's desperate enough to be trying to add Marshawn Lynch, there's a chance that they don't have the actual title hopes that they think they might have. So we'll move on to players. I got another player with a 3.9 value, so just slightly off. CJ Anderson. Feels like a pretty similar situation to March. Izzy, we're going to start with you this time. Who do you want more, CJ Anderson or Marshawn Lynch?
I'll go with Marshawn Lynch. I think both players are 1 year rental type players. CJ Anderson obviously has a 1 year contract with the Panthers, but I feel like Marshawn Lynch actually has a clearer role and a defined role with his current team. So I'll take Marshawn Lynch there. With the amount of running backs that have been added to the league, plus 2019 still has a few running backs coming in, and there are still free agents that could be starting running backs for teams next year. I don't know how CJ Anderson carves out a role anything greater than what he's going to have with the Panthers. So for me, this is going to be Marshawn Lynch.
What about you, Riley?
I'm going to take CJ Anderson just because I know he's going to get, a solid amount of carries this year. And I mean, yes, I think Lynch will too, but it goes back to there are a lot of mediocre backs in Oakland, and there's only one in Carolina, and that's CJ. It's going to be McCaffrey, then CJ, and then who cares after that? But in Oakland, it could be any one of the five. So I don't love either, but yeah, give me CJ.
I think I'm going to side with Izzy here. I think I'm going to go Marshawn Lynch just because I really do think that he is going to be he's going to get the first chance to be the lead back in Oakland. I don't really think CJ Anderson has that chance at all. I mean, that's obviously McCaffrey's job. CJ Anderson's got his role, but I don't think his role is going to be I don't think his role has the same upside that Lynch's role could have. So give me a little bit more value in season if he's producing. All right, so we'll move on to a few different guys here. I've got a list of 4. Put Marshawn Lynch in this list. Let me know where you would rank him. X Burkhead. Then we've got Theo Riddick, Kalen Balaj, and Nyheim Hines. Riley, we'll start with you first. Marshawn Lynch, are you putting him anywhere above any of those guys? Where does he fall in that group? Again, we've got Balaj, Hines.
I'm just going to give you a ranking. We're going to go Burkhead by far and above the number 1. Then we're going to go Riddick. And then, I hate the rest. Strictly because I think he has more value, I'm going to put Hines 3rd, but I hate it. Then we're going to go Lynch and then Kalen Balaj. But the bottom 3 are just gross.
All right, what about you, Izzy?
I would say Burkhead 1, Balaj 2. Who'd you say? So we have Lynch, Hines,
and Riddick.
And Riddick. Probably Riddick. Then Marshawn, then Hines.
So is that your personal ranking, or is that how you would rank, thinking what value you could get in return?
That's kind of like that's my personal on who I'd want. Burkhead, because I think he's got the highest upside this season in the role that he's going to have potentially. A little bit safer, younger. Marshawn's obviously aged. I like Balaj only because he has the most upside of all the guys that are in this list. So Balaj he's the only guy in this list that I feel has mid-first round or greater potential and future value if he hits. And then the rest of the guys are, especially with Hines and Riddick, they're both meh to me. I'm not a Hines fan at all. Riddick, I feel like he's already reached the pinnacle of what he would be in the NFL. He's really had some fortunate situations, and now it's kind of muddied, and I'm a huge Kerryon Johnson fan. So Riddick's role is going to be pretty insignificant. So the only hope is that he goes to another team next year that could use him in space as a third down back. So I think it's a tough core of players. I don't love many of them.
You don't think Riddick keeps his third down role?
I think he might, but he's not going to eat away at any carries. So it's purely receptions for Riddick with, a handful of. It's going to be more of like the Chris Thompson type rushes where he might get 60 rushes on the season, which equates to, what is that? That's 4 rushes a game about. So I don't like when my running back is only getting receptions. Like, people will say, what about Duke Johnson? Duke Johnson got enough carries. Riddick, I don't see getting more than 60 carries this year unless there's significant injuries. So you're really looking at a 40 to 50 catch guy, and that's not enough for me to really invest any amount of equity into Riddick.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not saying like you're going to be, running back 2 for Riddick, but I mean, I like him as a running back 4 or 5 as a back end flex play. I think his value's pretty steady, but I'm with you on Hines. I think I don't think he has a role. So I think he's way too hyped right now.
So the DTC rank. Oh, go on.
I was going to say, with Kane getting hurt, I think Hines has a better chance because Kane could have been with Grant and Rodgers there. I don't love either of those players too much, and we kind of highlighted this a little bit on the DTC pod, but Hines could have a role now that Kane is out, and the lack of depth in Indy could force them to utilize him more as a receiver, which could increase his value. I just don't love him as a player.
So the DTC ranking would be Burkhead, number 1, Riddick, number 2, actually, at 3.6. Burkhead was 3.7. Marshawn Lynch, 3.5. So they're all real close there. Then Ballage at 2.9 and Hines at 2.8. For me, I would actually move Hines up, I think, to second on the list, only because of the value. Like, I think you can get a lot for Hines right now. That's not where I want him on my team, but strictly from getting him and then flipping him. Like, if I could trade Marshawn Lynch for Hines straight up, I think I could get a better future draft pick for Hines than I'm going to get for Marshawn Lynch, if that makes sense. So other than that, I don't really care about.
Well, they're polar opposites
at all. So
you got one guy that's old as hell, and you got one guy that's young as hell. You got one guy that's a primary ball carrier, and you have another guy that's a satellite type player. So they're so different. So yeah, I get it.
Strictly on the though, I'll take Hines and cash out because I know I'm not cashing out. I know I'm not going to. I have no way to increase the value of Lynch by much. Hines, if he comes in and has like one good game, even in the preseason, like if he has that game, everybody's it's going to be out of control. So that's the only reason I'd move him up to second. And then I'd trade him as fast as I got him on my roster. I'd get him off. So, all right, let's move on to wide receiver. Izzy, your Dynasty Wall Street debut. Let's roll with wide receiver. Who you got?
I'm just picking this player because I like the range that he's in. I like the players that are around him. I think it's going to make for I think we're all going to have different rankings here. So my guy's going to be Mike Williams. I don't think he's been mentioned before on the pod. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not as the main wide receiver broad, at least.
Okay. He comes in at a 10.3, which is equivalent to, and I just had this and I got rid of it. Pardon me. I just lost it. Sorry about that. The 10.3 is basically the 111 and a 2018 310 about. So call it the 111 in a late third.
I'll start. I'll probably take Mike Williams there. I think he's got a pretty good opportunity here in San Diego. There's not a lot of receiving weapons out there, so I'm pretty happy with that. 111, you're likely taking a wide receiver. I know Riley's going to be like, I will take Anthony Miller right there, and I definitely want him straight up. Riley's eyes got big when you see 111 for Anthony Miller plus then a bonus late third round pick. Riley can barely contain himself. I think I'll take Mike Williams shot. But that's probably the highest I would want to pay for, or the lowest. How am I trying to say this? If I could get him for cheaper, I would not give the 110. And I don't think that feels like a perfect range to try and get him. So I would risk it and take the shot that Mike Williams fulfills that opportunity that he has this year. What about you, Riley?
Well, of course. I mean, I don't even have to say anything. I mean, it doesn't even have to be Miller, because that's where Cortland Sutton's starting to fall. Even Calvin Ridley down there, who I don't love, but he's okay at 111.
Is Sutton really falling to 111 right now? I don't think so. Is he really?
I mean, people love those running backs. I mean, I think Carrion's easily going above him now. Royce Freeman's up there, even though,
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so
I think it's interesting. I think the 111, there are players that have more value than 111, but those players are falling past 111, if that makes sense. So the overall value of the players can fetch you more than what a player equivalent to that at 111 is. So, for example, if the 111 is like Devin Funchess, right? I feel like every single player that you just named, Riley, whether it's Ridley, whether it's Sutton, whether it's Anthony Miller, and the running backs are going to fetch more than what a normal 111 would fetch in a typical draft.
I'm definitely taking all those guys over Devin Funchess.
So, yeah. So I think just because that there's more, they're just kind of all just crammed together at that 111 spot, and you can make a case that they're all valued at 111, but some will inevitably fall because there's just so many players log jammed into that spot.
Yeah, and you have to think about it in terms of the player that you're getting there and not just the name of the pick. I think that happens a lot too, because I mean, you could be saying the 203, but in reality, this class has 4 or 5 receivers, and they're not all going to be, in 2 spots. Some of them are going to fall, like you guys are saying. So,
yep.
Yeah,
yep, absolutely.
In terms of the player, absolutely, I'm going to take. And plus, you get a late third. you can use that in so many ways.
So many. All right, you got a closely linked player, Izzy, for us?
Well, do you want the groupings? Oh, just one closely linked player? So I'll go with Christian Kirk, who is 1 spot above Mike Williams in the calculator.
Oh, man.
I'll start. This is pretty easy. I'm not a Kirk guy, so I'll take Mike Williams. Mike can still be the number 1. I know Keenan's there, but he's got the big body. He's going to catch a lot of touchdowns. I think Kirk is just a slot guy. I don't really see – he's a very volume dependent in fantasy, in my opinion. So unless he's seeing 150-plus targets, I don't ever see him being a wide receiver 2. But I think Mike can be that guy, especially with Hunter Henry out for the year. I think they're going to use Williams a lot more in the red zone. So, yeah, give Williams pretty easily here for me. But I'm very curious what John's about to say.
Yeah, it's not real. I won't say it's easy because – I love Josh Rosen, so anybody that's linked up with Josh Rosen makes me feel really, really good. Man, it is close. It's close. I think I'd take Mike Williams. But it's not as easy for me as Riley is making it out to be. If on the clock, like with at the 111 and somebody says, hey, can I trade you Mike Williams? And then they go and take Christian Kirk, I might regret it in the future, but I think I'd still take Mike Williams. I'm going to go Mike Williams. I'll make a statement. I'll go Mike Williams. But it's not that far apart. What about you, Izzy? You got a preference between the two?
Yeah, I think I really like Christian Kirk a lot. Contrary to what Riley said, I think he could be a wide receiver 2 in fantasy, just like what Golden Tate and Randall Cobb have been in fantasy. They both put up low-end wide receiver 1 numbers in the past. I think Christian Kirk has that kind of potential. Emmanuel Sanders, same thing. Maybe not to that degree where I think Emmanuel Sanders was close to like a top 5 at one point. I really like Christian Kirk. I think Mike Williams has a higher ceiling overall. I get why you guys would say Mike Williams, and I think he's probably, I don't know, maybe he's not what the consensus would say. I will say Christian Kirk only because I feel like if Larry Fitzgerald leaves, Christian Kirk may not be the wide receiver 1 per se, but he could be the 1B to somebody's 1A in terms of targets, where I think Mike Williams is always going to be tied to an aging Phillip Rivers and a target hog in Keenan Allen. So the ceiling for him is limited, similar to what Christian Kirk's ceiling is limited because he can't be a pure wide receiver 1. But I feel like Christian Kirk being tied to Josh Rosen for the long term is greater than Mike Williams being tied to an aging Phillip Rivers, significantly lower on the pecking order than Keenan Allen.
Arizona's got a lot of opportunity too. I don't know. I'm still going to stay with Mike Williams.
I get it.
But man, I don't know if you go with Christian Kirk plus a round pick, then maybe once you look at it that way, maybe I would switch my first answer. I don't know. It's close. I'll stick with Mike Williams in this case, though.
You got to remember, Greg Little is coming back, so the opportunity is capped.
Right. Good point.
Okay. All right. Who's your group, Izzy?
All right. So I did this for Riley, actually. Anthony Miller, Christian Kirk, Mike Williams, Marvin Jones, Devin Funchess.
Riley, you want to start since though you've got Riley's got like number 1, and then he goes like 100 spaces in between.
I do tiers. Yeah, I do tier breaks. It was Miller, Kirk, Jones, Funchess, and
Williams.
This is tough. I'm gonna go my list and not the value to trade, blah blah.
Let's hear your list.
My list. I'm glad the auction is already somewhat over. We're gonna go Anthony Miller 1, Marvin Jones 2, tier break, Mike Williams, Christian Kirk, Devin Funchess.
Riley, I have the exact same list. I mean, that's exactly how I wrote it out. I like Marvin Jones way more than so many people do, I guess. People just don't like him, but I like him. So he's definitely – I consider putting him 1.
I did too. I fought with Miller and
the
Jones.
The tiebreaker is that Anthony Miller would fetch me more in a trade right now. So that's how I broke that tie. Otherwise, I mean, just if I literally wanted to have a guy just on my roster for for production standpoint, I would probably want Marvin Jones over Anthony Miller. But that value that Miller brings right now, because I've tried to trade some of my Marvin Jones and people aren't interested, but boy, I could trade Anthony Miller in a heartbeat. So same list, and that was the tiebreaker at the top for me. What about you, Izzy?
Yeah, I really like Marvin Jones as well. I've liked him all the way dating back to Cincy. The only issue is that out of the group of receivers that I just named off, he's the oldest, and you have Golden Tate there, and you have an up-and-coming Kenny Golladay with a new offensive line that could produce a 1,000-yard rusher now. So the volume, we might have seen peak Marvin Jones, which is a concern, right? I will go Anthony Miller, Christian Kirk, Mike Williams, Marvin Jones, Devin Funchess. And the only reason is that I feel like it's easier to find like a Marvin Jones type player in production. Like he's a 28-year-old receiver that probably profiles more as a wide receiver 2. He had his peak season. With these other guys, with Miller, Kirk, Williams, not so much Funchess, but those 3 guys right there, they have so much value ceiling relative to Marvin Jones that they just need a couple good 3-4 games, right, to get a little bit of hype, and then I can flip him if I don't want him. With Marvin Jones, he's dying on your roster. Like the production that he's going to give you is worth way more than the value that you can get in a trade. So I agree. For me, those other 3 guys just have so much more value potential. So I like that allure a little bit more. But I agree with you guys. I really like Marvin Jones. I think he's very underrated. He's a guy that you should target if you're looking for a productive wide receiver that you can get on the relatively cheap basis. He kind of falls into that. He's kind of like a rich man's Robbie Anderson type, where Robbie Anderson doesn't get enough credit for the season that he had. And I'm not a huge Robbie Anderson fan, but he produced relatively well considering even his current ADP. And I feel the same thing with Marvin Jones.
Yeah, and like same can be said for guys, Robert Woods, Chris Hogan, Kenny Stills. That whole range I think is very undervalued, and you can get them for just cheap.
Right.
Guy like Marvin Jones, like he never had the hype. So like these other guys, whether they perform or not, all it takes is a little flash, and they immediately, if they had hype in the past, immediately get it back. Have but like you don't care because he wasn't a hyped player in the past. I got him for cheap, which is great, and I'd like that more. But people just realize, well, you barely paid much for him, so I'm not going to actually give you a. I honestly think people look at that like you didn't have an investment in him, so you should sell him cheaper. And all I think about is, why would I give him to you for that much cheap? I don't know. You guys have any strategies for when you're trying to combat that kind of how do I trade Marvin Jones for proper value? How do I get something for a productive guy that nobody likes?
I'll wait until he catches a couple touchdowns in week one, and
he's a mid-season sell as opposed to a preseason sell.
Yep.
I've been shocked at the lack of interest this offseason. They do. All right, so I'll just mark that down to in season. All right, Riley, let's move on to you for our final position of the night, tight end.
So moving to tight end, this player is 28 years old. He finished 2017 as the tight end 7, Mr. Jack Doyle. Worst name in fantasy football, but finished as a top 7 tight end, which was kind of shocking. Last year, he saw 108 targets, 80 receptions, 690 yards, but only 4 touchdowns. Comes in on the calculator at a 3.5 value. Obviously, Eric Ebron brought in this year, so going to see a little competition in targets at the position, but coming in at a 3.5, that is equivalent to, or almost equivalent to, 2 2019 third-round picks. The 2 2019 thirds coming at a 4.0. So, in a nutshell, would you rather have Jack Doyle or 2 2019 thirds? Izzy, we'll start with you.
I will say, geez, I don't even know. I don't really care, to be honest.
You don't care about the tight end 7?
No, I'll say Jack Doyle. I just think that, I'll say Doyle. With the Barron receiving core there, he does have. I think he can replicate another tight end 1 season, especially if they go 2 tight end set, which I think they will more often, and both Ebron and Doyle can both feast.
That's my feeling on Doyle. Is good. I've unfortunate getting back on that Eric Ebron boat, and so I'm soon enough. Riley, you're sworn off of him, but God, people hate him, and he's so cheap. So I keep taking him. I took him.
He burned me so.
I can't help myself.
Ebron burned me so bad.
Me a million times.
He was I took him above Odell. I took him above. Anyways, pouring one out for Ebron.
We're moving on. But what I'm saying is, even though he was brought in, look at where the receptions are going to go in Indianapolis. Yes, T.Y. Hill made else in Indianapolis to run 2 tight ends on the field. There's no reason Doyle and Ebron can't coexist. Like the second and third leading receiver. I mean, Indianapolis is just struggling for pass catchers. So I'll take definitely got much more chance to increase his value to lottery ticket 3rd rounds next year. I know, Riley, you love your 3rd rounders, but Doyle looks a lot better. I can maybe get a 2nd, which I would trade 2 thirds for a 2nd any day. You, Riley, you want the 3rds or you want Doyle?
Well, I mean, yes, I like the 3rds, but I mean, I like the production more, so I'm going to take Doyle. I'm not sure I'd give a second for him though. That's kind of the weird part for me. But yeah, like I'm taking Doyle. Like we said earlier, Deion Kane's out for the year, so I think we're going to see a lot of targets going to the two tight ends. Even with Ebron there, I think Doyle's got a nice floor. So, even if he's a mid tight end too, I mean, I'll take that absolutely. So yeah,
He's going to be a guy that you just got to make sure you play. If you're streaming, you hit. He's going to be nice and productive for you. I don't think he's going to be a tight end one this year, though. I don't see that for him. That there's no way he goes above.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no way that's tight end 7 again. But yeah, I mean, I could see a mid tight end 2, so I think that's okay. But the comparable players are pretty interesting. So I'm just gonna name the list, and you guys just rank them for us. So we're gonna go his fellow tight end Eric Ebron comes in at a 5.6.
Oh, you're giving us the values. That's interesting.
I'll give you the values, yeah, because I think it's mine are different. So
not the way we usually do it, but
Cameron Brate coming in at a 4.0. Mike Gesicki coming in at a 5.4. And Tyler Eifert at a 5.0. And Doyle. So, John, I'm going to start with you.
So, for me, Doyle, Eifert, that's a train I'm done with. I've been burned by Tyler Eifert just even more than Eric Ebron. Other than that, I like Ebron and purely the two tight ends that I bought in an auction last night because they were so cheap. So Ebron and Brate are 1-2 for me. Gesicki, yeah, I'll take that potential over Jack Doyle. And then I'm putting Eifert dead last. I want nothing to do with him. And I know I've kind of touted him as a possibility in the past that if he's back, that since Andy Dalton loves throwing to him, but that man just gets hurt too often every time he's on the field. If I can get value out of him now, I'm down. In the other guys, I think at least hold their value or increase. What about you, Izzy?
Yeah, I'm going with that list. I'm going Ebron 1. I'm going Gesicki 2. I'm going Brate 3. Doyle 4. Eifert 5. I agree with you. I'm done with Eifert. I can't do it anymore. I'm just fed up.
It's a shame. I mean, he's so good when he can play. Like, so good. The Bengals used him a lot too, but
yeah, it almost feels like Josh Gordon's been way more relevant than Tyler Eifert has, and Tyler Eifert hasn't been suspended. You know what I mean? Like
that's hurtful.
It's like 2015. It's literally been 2 full years of literally nothing, zero production.
Yeah.
So my list is very different.
He might end up on some waiver wires this year.
I think so if he gets
which is the amount that I'm looking to invest in Eifert. If he's on a waiver wire, I probably will pick him up. But Eifert, poor Eifert. What about you, Riley? Did you get to put Doyle in that list?
This is weird, but I mean, they're all very, very similar values. Like, I think if I were to do my startup ranks right now, I think they'd probably be, 1 or 2 spots away from each other. I'm going to put Brate first, Doyle second, Gesicki third, Ebron and Eifert are 4th and 5th respectively because I've had my days.
You're done. You're not done with
I've
Ebron.
had my days with those two. I waited on my boy Eric, and
that is so personal.
Ebron hasn't been that bad, dude.
He hasn't, but I mean, I had so much invested, and I sold out. Like I sold Ebron for a 2018 second and Jonnu Smith. That was in 2017, and I felt pretty good about it.
Take that. Yeah.
I don't know what I did with the second. I can't remember, but I don't know. Like, I mean, Gesicki's got a higher ceiling. We may have to wait a year or 2 for him, but Brate and Doyle, I think, just have really solid floors, and I think Ebron's floor is hell. So.
I mean, okay, so I think you're being a little harsh. So outside of the touchdowns, Ebron has been fine. Like, I mean, so if Ebron, instead of having 1 touchdown in 2016, he has 8, right? So like the touchdowns are the things that are just so random. It seems like in fantasy sometimes. He played 13 games, had 711 yards, but only 1 touchdown. 711 yards with only 1 touchdown. It's pretty hard to do. right? It just seems like it's an outlier. Last season, 574 and 4. Now he's going to Indy, where there's not much behind T.Y. Hilton. We have Cameron Brate. Last year he went 591 and 6. So 574 and 4 versus 591 and 6, really not that much of a difference. And you're writing off Eric Ebron and you're taking Cameron Brate first. It seems like you've been scorned. You're a woman scorned right now.
Well, I mean, I think it doesn't help that he's behind Doyle. And I still think Doyle's going to be the tight end 1, even though I think they're both going to be on the field at the same time a lot. But I mean, he's changing systems. He's going to a new team, and it's not like Doyle
has more fantasy points this year than Ebron. You think that?
I think so. Yes. But okay, I mean, I don't think
so why are you not scared of OJ Howard? Because OJ Howard started more games than Cameron Brate last year.
Because I think OJ is going to be the very similar situations. Like Brate is the sure-handed, run a little out route, we'll get you for 5 yards in the first down. Where Ebron and Howard, they're gonna, they're the seam guys, they're the home run hitters, and I think they're gonna be hit fewer times than Doyle and Brate will, if that makes sense.
You can make the argument. You can make the argument that Doyle and Howard are the better blockers in the two situations, and Ebron and Brate might be the more reliable pass catchers. I mean, you can make a case that Brate and Howard are pretty close at both, but I mean, for Doyle and Ebron is not there to block, right? Nor can he.
No, not at all. I just think it's how the teams are going to use them, and that's what it's going to be weird watching this year and seeing how they play out. So, I mean, I just think Brate and Doyle are safer. They may not have the 25-point fantasy games like Ebron or OJ Howard, or even Mike Gesicki. Yeah. He's kind of in that same range. It's, I don't know. It's
Ebron's the pick here, Riley. Don't complicate.
I don't know. I mean, but they're all close.
It's personal. It is personal for Riley.
It is personal.
He won't get over it. It's just personal.
It's a little personal.
He's going to get split out wide in that offense. They're going to move him around. There's no other receiver out there that can do it. This is just pure necessity at this point.
But they're all close for me, though. I'm not saying there's tier breaks or anything.
I hear you.
They're all very, very close. So I'm splitting hairs, and it's just kind of a preference thing.
There's a tier break before Eifert. Let's be honest.
Okay, that's the only one.
Unfortunately, lots of tiers right there. All right, well let's wrap this up. We're actually going to do one little quick point here. We're about Riley's welcoming into the wonderful world of auctions for fantasy. Riley is currently doing an auction in a league that I'm running. And it's his first time ever doing an auction. Riley, let me get your initial impressions of an auction first.
Yeah, so I popped my auction cherry about a week ago. I'm in love, but at the same time, it pisses me off every day because I'll be 30 minutes away from getting a guy from a 12-hour clock, and then all of a sudden I get my little text message and I see new bid on Miles Sanders because we have a Devy aspect. And I'm like, so I don't know. I like it. It's very addicting, refreshing, and then trying up bids, and then you get screwed. But yeah, no, I love it. It's fantastic. I think it's a lot more fair than regular snake drafts because you got a shot at anybody. But I don't know. I love them.
Have you figured out a strategy yet for how to attack an auction?
Yeah, be patient because prices will be so much more cheaper at the end than I don't know. Like I have Cortland Sutton right now for 9% of my budget when I could have had DJ Moore for like a lot from him. I could have had DJ Moore for like 4%, and I'm not even a DJ Moore fan. But
is he really on the board for that cheap?
Yeah, he's pretty cheap. I know it's rough, but like it's okay. 8.5% on Tevin Coleman.
So I will say, I actually, the first couple of times I ever did an auction, I was patient. What unfortunately, what ended up happening then is I missed out on a lot of stud players, and I've kind of come around to the fact that you need studs to win in fantasy football. It is great to have a nice deep roster, a lot of guys that can get in there and give you a start. But ultimately, if you don't have guys that put you over the top, I don't think you're going to win championships. So I've adapted, and I've actually become an extremely aggressive auctioneer, and I probably need to change it up because I think people now that they kind of know my move is to immediately come out and jump a guy so ridiculously high at the time, rather than let a guy work up to what I think is peak value. I don't come out and I just put that peak value on the guy right away. Like if I know I'm willing to pay it anyways, I jump it right up there in the hopes, well, if they see Todd Gurley at 50 and over that 12-hour span, they're looking at Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson, and Le'Veon Bell, and they're all in the 20s. My hope is, well, like maybe they'll just let me get Gurley. Because eventually I think my thought is those guys eventually are going to get up there. But if people don't bid aggressively, it takes days for them to get up there. So eventually they're going to suppress what I try to like sticker shock my way into one or two studs early. It used to work. It has now stopped working. People realize what I do, and now they just outbid me by $1, and it's not working anymore. So, Izzy, how do you handle auctions?
Yeah, so in every auction, this is how it works. The top guys go for way more than they should, right? They go for budgets. They go for 20, 25% of the budget, right? And then what ends up happening is people blow their load on the top 12 to 15 guys, right? Maybe top 20 guys. What ends up happening after that is players 25 to 50 in ADP, maybe even 25 to 75, become a huge value. You get them for fractions on the dollar relative to everybody else. And then what ends up happening is those guys that spent their money, which is just about everybody in an auction, on the top guys, they end up letting those mid-tier guys go for cheap because they don't want to spend more of their money. And then towards the end of the draft, when you got the players in the 120, 130, 140, 150 range, maybe even like 110 to that other range, people start overspending on those players because now they realize, oh, crap, I actually have more budget than I expected. So now I'm going to overspend on the sleepers. So I am big on, I would rather spend my budget on the 25 to, let's call it 100 range, because that's where I get the best value, best bang for my buck, than I do overpaying early and then overpaying late. I've done a lot of auctions, and that it's literally every single auction works the exact same way. If you're savvy enough, though, you can get like one player in the top tier and just sit and wait and then spend all the rest of your money on the mid-tier guys and then pick up your dollar flyers, because there's a lot of dollar flyers that you can get. So in this situation, I wouldn't mind spending on one of the receivers like an OBJ or a Hopkins and then waiting until everybody kind of blows the rest of their load and then going and get those guys in the middle tiers, like the Golden Tates and the Doug Baldwins and the Marvin Joneses and, Kerryon Johnson would probably be like a cheaper running back relative to the top tier guys, and then take my flyers. So
yeah,
it's weird. It's weird how auctions work. I've never seen an auction where the top tier guys don't go for way more than they should.
Yeah, they go for a ton. And that's why, that's literally why I try to jump it right away. So that I hope that I can get them before it's actually at that 25% threshold. Because if I can get one of them for like 20%, well, I'll first day or two because nobody else on the board is up there. If I can sneak one through, then I try and do exactly what you say. Then I actually start at that point. Then I try and go down to the bottom of like my list that I want, guys that I would spend like $3 or $4 on, and I try and nominate them for $1. And I hope that they slide through then, because I definitely, like you said, I do waiting at the end. I want to spend all my money and be done like before other people start getting to their $1 players. Because like you said, what happens is everybody's like, oh, well, I got $5 left. I might as well just bid this guy to $5. And a guy that should be $1 or $2 is going for $5. And that's just ridiculous. So I try to start throwing out my $3 and $4 players on the first, after I try and get that first stud and try and fill going that way. And that tends to keep me a little bit patient until I can then try and work the middle of the auction, which is where you can really get some good deals. Don't bid late though. Definitely don't want to save money. I had one league this year where I ended up I saved money because I just couldn't literally win a guy. Like I just kept getting outbid. And then at the end I had to just overspend and it was sickening. But I had the money. I had to get rid of the money. So it forces those bottom guys to be way overpriced. So always spend your money before you get there. Make sure you do that.
That's worst case scenario. Yeah, you're better off blowing your load early than having to spend on junk late.
When it comes down to it, you don't want to be looking at the end of the auction going, God, okay, so I could have spent $10 more and gotten OBJ. Yeah, that was more than I wanted to spend on him, but now I'm spending $10 on a guy I'm probably going to cut. Like that's one of the worst feelings there is.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you very much for joining us on the 14th episode of Dynasty Wall Street. Appreciate you filling in for Kevin. Kevin, best wishes to you. Hopefully you will be feeling better soon and you can come back and host, because then you'll do things like ask for everybody's Twitter handles before you try to start wrapping up the show. So, Izzy, where can people follow that?
At DTC_Izzy E. You don't have to follow me though. I don't do anything that cool.
What about you, Riley?
Yeah, I am at DTC_Riley B. Everybody go give Kevin some well wishes. Hope he gets better. Maybe not. I kind of like Izzy, so we have options now.
Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, like hosting. We love Kevin. Why do you think we wanted Kevin on this podcast? Yeah, I'll host. It's perfect. No, get better, Kevin. Get well, buddy. All right, thanks for listening to us. As always, we would love any types of rates, reviews. Always subscribe and share the show for us every time you can. Thanks for listening. We will be back in a couple of weeks.